The doctors laughed when they saw him standing there, scrubs slightly wrinkled, a baby formula stain still visible on his sleeve, eyes hollow from too many sleepless nights. A nurse, one of them scoffed, and a single dad. They had no idea that in less than 24 hours, those same doctors would fall completely silent, standing at attention, as a wounded Navy SEAL commander lifted his trembling hand, and saluted that very man. What happened inside those hospital walls would change every life involved, and expose a truth no one was prepared to face. Chapter 1: The Man They Didn't Take Seriously. Hook for Chapter 1. When Daniel Carter walked into St. Augustine Medical Center for his first official shift, he felt every eye on him. Not because he was new, but because he didn't fit the picture. At 32, Daniel was already exhausted in a way most people his age couldn't understand. His wife, Emily, had died during childbirth 2 years earlier, leaving him alone with a newborn daughter and a grief that never truly loosened its grip. Nursing hadn't been his backup plan, it had been something he'd trained for alongside Emily, something they'd dreamed of doing together. After she died, it became the only thing that still made sense. Every morning began at 4:30 a.m. Feed the baby, change the diaper, rock her back to sleep, then drive to daycare with a knot in his chest that never went away. By the time he reached the hospital, Daniel had already lived half a lifetime before most people finished their first cup of coffee. The doctors noticed immediately. Some whispered, some smirked, a few openly doubted him. "He's too soft," one surgeon muttered during rounds. "Single dads don't last long in this job," another said with a laugh. Daniel heard it all, he just kept his head down. Then the trauma call came in. A Navy SEAL commander, critical condition. IED blast, massive internal injuries, high-ranking, highly classified, highly dangerous situation. The room changed instantly. Doctors rushed, nurses scrambled, the tension was thick enough to choke on. Daniel was assigned to post-op monitoring. The doctors hesitated. "You sure about him?" one asked. "He's new," another said. And distracted, a third added, glancing at the baby photo tucked into Daniel's ID badge. But there was no time. The commander survived surgery, but barely. Hours later, in the ICU, alarms suddenly screamed. Blood pressure crashing, oxygen dropping, internal bleeding suspected. Doctors rushed back in, but chaos took over. Daniel didn't panic. He noticed something no one else did. A subtle change in breathing rhythm. A detail he remembered from training, and from real-life experience no textbook covered. He spoke up. "I think it's a delayed thoracic bleed. If we move him now." A senior doctor cut him off sharply. "Stay in your lane, nurse." Daniel froze. Seconds passed. The commander's vitals dropped even further. Daniel made a choice. He acted. He initiated emergency protocols, stabilized the airway, and forced the team to look where they hadn't been looking. The room fell silent. They rushed the commander back into surgery. This time, he lived. But instead of gratitude, Daniel was reprimanded. "You overstepped," the head doctor snapped. "You embarrassed the team." Daniel said nothing. That night, he sat alone in the locker room, staring at his phone, at a picture of his daughter asleep in her crib. He wondered if he was failing at everything. Chapter 2: The Salute That Silenced the Room. Hook for Chapter 2. 3 days later, the hospital auditorium was packed. Doctors in white coats, administrators in suits, military officers in uniform. The Navy SEAL commander had woken up, and he had made one specific request. "I want the nurse," he had said. The single dad, Daniel, stood at the back of the room, confused and uncomfortable. He hadn't even told anyone what he'd done. He assumed no one cared. The commander was wheeled in slowly, bandaged, pale, but alert. He scanned the room, then his eyes locked onto Daniel. With visible effort, the commander pushed himself upright. Doctors rushed forward. "Sir, you shouldn't." But the commander raised his hand. "I know exactly what I'm doing." He turned his body fully toward Daniel. And then, despite broken ribs, despite pain, he raised his hand to his brow and saluted. The room went dead silent. "I've faced enemy fire," the commander said, voice steady. "I've buried brothers, and I know courage when I see it." He pointed directly at Daniel. "This man saved my life when everyone else was too proud to listen." Doctors stared at the floor. Some swallowed hard. The commander continued. "He didn't do it for recognition. He didn't do it for rank. He did it because that's what real service looks like." Then he added something no one expected. "I asked about him," the commander said. "I learned he's raising a child alone. That he shows up every day exhausted, and still gives everything he has. Daniel felt his throat tighten. The commander lowered his hand. If I had men like him on my team, he said, I'd go anywhere. The hospital administration announced immediate changes. Public apologies were made. Daniel was offered advancement, but that wasn't the real victory. That night, Daniel picked up his daughter from daycare. She reached for him. She smiled. And for the first time since his wife's death, Daniel felt something break free inside his chest. He wasn't invisible. He wasn't weak. He wasn't failing. He was exactly where he was meant to be. Ending message strong, inspiring closing for viewers. They laughed at the new single dad nurse because they judged what they didn't understand. But real strength is quiet. Real heroes don't wear medals, they wear exhaustion, responsibility, and love. And sometimes, the most powerful salute in the room isn't given to rank. It's given to heart.